Am I really trying to tell you that if you're no contact and making no effort whatsoever with an adult child, but you're still sending birthday cards, that's toxic? That's exactly what I'm trying to say is the case in many cases. Before we get fully into this, if you're new here, or even if you're not yet subscribed, I talk about healing, deep healing and truth when it comes to dysfunctional childhoods, particularly if you've grown up with a toxic parent. And if that feels like it could be of use to you, then make sure that you have subscribed. You can even turn that bell thing on, yeah? So you know what's going down. So today I'm talking about when toxic parents or abusive parents send birthday cards when they've made no other effort whatsoever to reestablish that relationship or to try and take some accountability for why that relationship is breaking down. And that bit's really, really key here before we dive in and talk about this. When I post content on my social media channels, Instagram and TikTok, talking about this specific subject, it's when I get the most abuse. It's when I get the most polarization from people. Obviously, we'll talk about this in a second, but I get all of the people that talk about how much it's helped them, but never do I get more abuse than when I post this. Now, I want to just validate if I can to try and make sure that I find some balance and inclusion in what I'm talking about. I do understand that there are many parents, perhaps, that are alienated from their children. Normally, by the way, because of a toxic parent in some degree. So it's kind of still what I'm talking about. But I understand if you have found alienation for whatever reason and you feel like you've exasperated everything and you've done everything, I can understand why this polarizes. Why this triggers you. And I want to just highlight that. So I do get that if that triggers you. But my key point is here, right, is I'm specifically talking about parents that are making no effort whatsoever, right? The kind of toxic and abusive parents at that high end of the scale. I believe that sending birthday cards and Christmas cards in the way that they do is purposeful, conscious, toxic, and abusive manipulation from afar. And I'm going to get into why that is today. When I'm talking about toxic and abusive people, I'm talking about people that believe that they are at the center of the universe. Normally with toxic parents, these kind of people like to keep themselves as the victim. So if you have eventually gone no contact with them and you've reached this stage where you really had to go minimal or absolutely, particularly in this case, no contact, they still will want to try and use you as a supply. In many ways, what they will do is they will just twist. They'll recognize and realize they have to go and find a new supply, and you will just become a new pawn in the puzzle of why they are such a victim, right? So they are likely out there saying, I've tried everything. I've been the best person that I can be, and subtly smear campaigning, making out like you're the crazy one, right? And this is the first reason that I want to touch on why I think they send these cards. It's so that they can look out to the world and say, I've tried my best. I've done everything that I can. I sent birthday cards every year, right? And they can use that kind of narrative as their way of saying, I just want to reach out and just want to let them know that I love them, right? They won't include the fact that sometimes they only send it to the grandchildren, or they spell your name wrong, or they don't write your name in it. So there's like these little passive aggressive kind of clues in there just to make sure that it has that kind of negative impact on you when you receive it. And that's very purposefully done. And now it's really important to say that if you are triggered by this kind of conversation because you are alienated from your children for reasons that are outside of your control, then the reality is that if you look hard enough, and that's a horrible situation for you, but if you look hard enough, you should be just as pissed off about them doing this as anybody, because what they're doing is then diminishing something that you are actually trying to do that's very reasonable and appropriate. I hope that makes sense. Another reason why I believe that they do it is to see if they can reestablish you as a direct supply, right? It's a moment of, here's an opportunity for me to reach out to try and see if I can reestablish you as a supply. When I talk about a supply, toxic and abusive people like this, they see themselves as the center of the universe, and they see everyone around them, particularly their children, by the way, when they're young, as an extension of themselves, right? And so if you can be their supply, if you can help them stay at the center of the universe, normally by way of victimhood or by kind of projecting all of their shitty, nasty feelings that they have onto you, or to get you to make them feel like they're incredible, in whatever way they want or need, that's how they will use you. And so there's always part of the reason that they're reaching back out in this way is to see if they can reestablish that, to see if you can become a supply for them again. And that's why, chucking them straight in the bin or ignoring them or not even opening them is, in many cases, the best option, right? Particularly, we're talking here, remember, if you've had to go no contact because you've deemed them to be toxic and abusive. Another reason is because they want to make you feel as shitty as they feel sometimes. Look, a lot of people say, do you think that toxic mums or toxic dads, do you think that they hate their adult children? I don't think they hate anybody, to be honest with you. I don't think they think about other people in enough capacity to hate them. I think they hate themselves. I think they're full of hate and disdain and shitty feelings about themselves. And as much as they can, they want to project them onto other people. That's why, by the way, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but they will often call you all of the things that they are, right? They'll call you toxic and abusive. They'll say that you're narcissistic. They'll use all of the fucking lingo to say that you're smear campaigning them, and they'll do all of that shit, right? Because they're projecting. They constantly, consistently project, and they lack the self-awareness to know that it's projection or to even recognize how clearly it is projection. Finally, and this is the final point I'm going to probably try and make here, is another reason that they do it is because they just fucking want to. All right? They just think, I'm going to fucking do this and I'm going to have that impact on them. And this is why, if you're asking me how we should deal with them or how you should deal with them, I think you should chuck them straight in the bin. If you've established that it's a toxic and horrible person, you should chuck it straight in the bin. Whenever, to summarize in some ways, whenever somebody offers any kind of olive branch that isn't supported by direct behavior change, I'll say that again. When anybody offers any kind of olive branch that isn't directly supported by some kind of behavior change, then it is, by definition, manipulation. It is an attempt to pull you back in, to steer you back in, and to help make you be the supply. I don't care whether that's conscious or unconscious. Listen, I think that we can all do that probably to some degree in our lives, but ultimately, in the end, we have to take accountability for the impact that that has. So I think it's worth understanding that. And, if you are a parent watching this and you're fucking fuming with me because you think that, you're doing it because you just love them, then where's your behavior change? Like, where is your behavior change? If you've been toxic and abusive, because that's what we're talking about in this instance, right? Sending a birthday card is not a behavior change. Are you in therapy? Are you working on yourself? Are you looking to do things to directly take accountability and try and create change? I tell my young children, sorry is an action, not a word. Sorry is an action, not a word. And sending a birthday, I get people that comment, I'm going to finish here in a second. I get people that comment on my content all of the time when I post content about this stuff specifically, saying, well, what else am I supposed to do? Fuck me, man. If all you can think of when you've been toxic and abusive someone's whole life is to send them a birthday card, yeah, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You work on yourself, you create change. This is what we do when we hurt people. If we hurt people and we want to amend the situation, we have to amend the situation. Amends something is to change it, to create meaningful and positive change. Sending a birthday card once a year, I'll argue till the cow comes home, is not it. A reminder, if you haven't yet subscribed, I'd love you to do that. I hope that this is helpful. Share it with your friends and all that kind of jazz. And I'll see you on the next one.